Chief Sunday Igboho and the Yoruba Nation shenanigans. You see, people are already fighting on the issue of Sunday Igboho already, and we have a divided nation already. A guy made a video where he was saying, Sunday Igboho, once he died the Yoruba Nation, you know, he has betrayed the agenda and all of that. He has now aligned with the presidency. Of course, a viral video was out there where he was having a face cap of the APC on his head and all of that. In his defense, Sunday Igboho said he had no choice than to agree with the terms of the presidency. Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewodu Ladoja, who happens to be a foster father to Sunday Igboho, begged on his behalf. And I think one of the terms that was given to him was to align with the presidency and work for APC in 2027. And Sunday Igboho is not ashamed to say that, and he's saying it freely. So the guy is right in his opinion that Sunday Igboho, Yoruba Nation and all of that. A guy now stitched the video in response and he was saying, in that video, I commented that all this while, Yoruba Nation was a shenanigan. And some people made money from it, some people made name. The guy came for me, saying all of that. I just told him, I'm not an illiterate. I'm not talking of education here. I am not an illiterate. We have educated illiterate. I am not an illiterate. I'm educated a bit and I'm literate. The Yoruba Nation movement was a shenanigan, whether you want to accept it or not. Sunday Igboho náà ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń rí àwọn nǹkan kan ni. If you look at his video, he said it na pé àwọn kan kan make owó, òun dẹ̀ ń fi owó ara ti ẹja, kò gbowó lọ́wọ́ anybody. Look at this guy, Koiki Media. Owó tó make lára lórí tó fi orúkọ Sunday Igboho make ló ń lọ yẹn. The Yoruba Nation is a shenanigan. I can defend it anywhere. Let me tell you how. Number one, the only agenda they were pushing is the security agenda. Àwọn Fulani ń pa wá, wọ́n ṣe. I agree with them. But when we are talking of a nation, a country, that is not the only agenda you will push. There's no economic plan. Okay, currency wo la fẹ́ máa ná? Àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ ìjọba ta ni ó máa sanwó oṣù wọn? Resources wo la ní tati harness? Fine, there is many resources in Yoruba land. Have you been tapping it? We have gold, we have precious stones. The only resources everybody should in Nigeria is the oil in Niger Delta. That is where 70% of the revenue of Nigeria comes from. Do you think everything is just about Fulani? So you want to build a nation around that shenanigan? Oh, you even think that everything in, let's take Oyo State for instance. For instance, you think everything in Oyo State belongs to Yoruba? Oh, Yoruba ló ní UI. Oh, Yoruba land ló ní UCH. The ancient educational institution tó wà ní Oyo State, Yoruba Nation ló ní. So tẹ́ bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ Yoruba Nation, ta ni ó san staff àwọn UI salary, ta ni ó san staff àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ UCH. Federal School of Statistics, ta ni ó san owó oṣù wọn. Federal School of Survey, ta ni ó san owó oṣù wọn. Forestry Research Institute, CRIN. There are organizations that made up a government. You don't just wake up one day and just say Yoruba Nation. And I was talking to the guy, literate. You've not even talked about currency. What design currency can? Do you even know that if you design a currency, you have to submit it to IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank for backing? So what will be backing the currency? You have to have a reserve. Naira that we spend is being backed by crude oil. Some currencies in the world are being backed by gold. So you don't just address issues with emotion. Somebody that does not read the Convap report of 2014 is talking to me about Yoruba Nation. Everybody. That is why the people are looking at them. It doesn't work that way. That's not how to win a country. Even Nigeria as a country, before we got independent in 1960, the push for independence started in 1953, 1954. That's why the fact that we already have indirect rule in place. So it doesn't come easy. The only agenda, support Yoruba Nation. They are only talking about security. You didn't talk about the economy. You didn't talk about agric. You didn't talk about education. Yoruba Nation. Recognize Yoruba Nation. Recognize Yoruba Nation. What is the security architecture? What is the architecture? Yoruba Nation. UCH. Yoruba Nation. UI. So there are so many things. Oh, Yoruba Nation. So Yoruba Nation. So Barracks Odogbo to the military architecture for Southwest Nigeria. And you head of take over Nigerian 2nd military division. To one John Ibadu. Oh, that's how it works. It doesn't work that way. Àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn number Sunday Igboho sọ. Àwọn tán sọ fún Sunday Igboho ni pé Yoruba Nation or no Yoruba Nation. Ojú bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn lọ. The only thing tó wà viable tí Seyi Makinde ti sọ rí is the regional government, which is what is in the Confab 2014 report tí Jonathan ṣe. A regional government is what is suitable. After regional government, tá bá run regional government yẹn for like 20 years. Nínú regional government yẹn láti máa sọ̀rọ̀ bó la ṣe fẹ́ take over àwọn kankan. Níbo láti design currency wa, láti submit currency wa for approval. Ibẹ̀ láti sọ pé okay, how do we take charge of UCH to now be a regional hospital? How do we take charge of UI? UI will now be a regional university. How do we take over all these federal institutions? Do you even know that as at Bachelor Yi, Oyo State will need grid, electrical grid? In Nigeria, everybody is in low. How will you supply electricity to us? So you people should stop these shenanigans. We are not fools. The issue of nation building is not easy. Ekiti State in Ekiti State is in struggle. Ekiti State can create in 1996. Ekiti State is in struggle. Maybe 96 or 96. Between 96, 97, 98, 99, and create Ekiti State. Ekiti State is in struggle. Bayelsa State can create to get 13% derivation. One create Bayelsa State in 1999. Bayelsa State is still struggling with development. The person that brought a revolutionary turnover to Osun State was Aregbesola, and it was because he understood that they have money, they can borrow money from World Bank. Gbèsè tó wà lọ́rùn Osun State ẹ lọ wá díẹ̀. That's why the fact that wọ́n jẹ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ ní half salary ọdún mẹ́ta, ó ní Aregbesola fi revolutionize Osun State. You think it is easy to build a state, not to talk of a nation? Ekiti State is in struggle. Osun State is in struggle, whether you like it or not. You think United Nations will just hand over Lagos to do you know the number of people that has interest in Lagos? You think the World Bank will just hand over Lagos to anybody? They will just hand over Lagos to you? Is that how it works? So, in total right, if Sunday Igboho ló ti ṣe yẹn, ẹgbẹ́ tó bá wù kó lọ, but terms and conditions tí president fún ló máa follow. I'm not a fan of APC, I'm not a fan of the president, but terms and conditions tí president fún ló máa follow. Bá ṣe máa fight Yoruba nation kọ́ yẹn, tẹ́ bá lọ sí United Nations. So, Sunday Igboho náà máa gbé, do you know the number of elites in this country? Sunday Igboho náà máa gbé country Yoruba fún. Sunday Igboho. Obasanjo is a bad person, but wọ́n fẹ́ create Yoruba as a country. Obasanjo will not be on seat. What are you telling me? Mimiko will not be on seat. Bode George will not be on seat. Tinubu will not be on seat. Whether you call them bad people or not. What are you talking about? They will not call all the former governors. As worse as you think, Fayose will not be on seat. Former governors will not be on seat. They want to create Yoruba nation. So it's Sunday Igboho and Professor Bando, they will hand over the nation Yoruba to. Are you serious at all? Fashola will not be on seat. People like Ambode will not be on seat. People like Olusegun Oshoba will not be on seat. People like Olusegun Aganga. People like Adebayo, this African Development Bank. People like that will not be on seat. Is that how they create a nation? You people, you joke a lot. But do you know what it means to create a state? A state, not to talk of a nation.
Of course, we know that a lot of people are not happy, especially those that worked with Sunday Igboho for this Yoruba nation. I think I'm beginning to understand this whole thing, but a lot of people believe that, we're following this course because of Professor Adebanji, because looking at Sunday Igboho, because he does not have a knowledge of the whole thing. Because I remember when he started with this issue of fighting for security of Yoruba land, which of course a lot of people really believed in, but all of a sudden they just switched to use a Yoruba nation thing. Well, maybe because of they believe that when they have a Yoruba nation, this issue of insecurity will be dealt with, and they forgot that the issue of insecurity, the Tinubu himself was not even encouraging them. But let's even leave that out of the whole thing, because they were not working for Tinubu, and Tinubu, of course, he has already presented himself as the first person in Yoruba land. That's why he called himself Asiwaju. It just takes somebody who is a criminally minded person to have been thinking of how to outsmart people, and has been on that journey for over how many decades. So that is a different ballgame mentality. But if you look at the whole thing, like I said, a lot of people were really following this course because of Professor Kimbanji, and not that because of Igboho, because educationally or educational wise is not there. And this guy has been able to pieces the whole thing, apart from being educated. Because the question me too have been asking as at that time is that, when they now get, if at all they get this Yoruba nation, who are the people that will, because all these politicians, definitely they will come, because they will not tell you that they are the leaders, and they are the ones that can really push things. And when they talk about this Biafra thing, people always go back to, go and tell the IPOP people that say, go back to your senators, go back to your lawmakers. They are the ones that should be able to push this whole thing, whether there should be referendum or not. So the issue of a Yoruba nation, Nana was asking, so does it mean that they have a different set of people? Is it not the same politicians that will come and hijack it? That was why I was just being skeptical, because if really he had stayed more on this issue of fighting the insecurity that the Fulanis were really they really created as at that time, maybe it would have been a difference, because I just suddenly saw a switch, and that was what a lot of people were really were not really comfortable with. Being that Sunday Igboho is not an educated person, but that being said, because of Professor Banji and this explanation that this guy is even trying to bring, does it mean that Professor Akibanji, that's his name, does it mean he didn't know all of these things? Because this guy really explained this whole thing in depth. It is not as easy as the way they were going about it. And at the end of the day, who was affected most? It's this same Sunday Igboho. He was the one that was affected, because Professor Akibanji did not Professor, I've forgotten his name. I think Professor one thing, Professor that's Akibanji or whatever. He didn't. The only thing was that he left the country as at that time. I think he went to Benin Republic. But it was Sunday Igboho that they came. All his business went in for that. Of course, he might come with a genuine mind, but I'm sure I didn't really understand this whole thing in depth. Does it mean that professor himself did not even understand it, or to have even explained to him how it ought to be? Because it is not an easy thing. Because if at all, let's assume that they get it, and you think these politicians will not come and hijack it, and like he said, if they want to discuss Yoruba nation, no matter what you think about Obasanjo will not be there. The past governors will not be there. Even Tinubu himself, you think he will not be there, he will be there. So most of the time when people say, people just run with emotions and what have you, and this issue of division or dividing the country, it is because of these useless politicians too, because nobody would have been talking about this if at least at the end of the day, we are not talking about giving people appointments, or people from your region, you give them appointments, so that means automatically the people have been settled and the rest people should be bound to the Philippines. We are talking about the what do they call these things, these basic things of life that people really need. At least let people be able to have a safe environment, let people have what to eat, to be able to fend for themselves, at least not even struggling here and there. We are not talking about get quick rich, but at least those basic amenities, let people have it, everything will be okay. But no, they won't do that, yet they still expect people to be bowing down to them, and that is what is causing all this division. But at the end of the day, you will still see that the same character that they have already, irrespective of how the country will be divided, those characters, those politicians will still go there and hijack it and begin to bring all of those nonsense they've learned, even as a country called Nigeria. They will bring all those nonsense characters there as well. So you don't expect to get to those even a Biafra nation today, and you think these politicians or from Igbo extraction, they will not want to come and hijack it. It's really a tough one, until when we have leaders who really have the interests of the people at heart, until when we have people who are selfless, until when we have people who really want to take up the Nigeria matter as important as it ought to be. That is only when we will be able to get it right. If not, if these guys are not ready, forget it. And that's why you see crooks, you see charlatans all over the place. At the end of affair, they don't want things to go well. A lot of people are enjoying, or some people are enjoying this country today because of the lawlessness. They don't even want it to end, because they know in as much as things go very well for everybody or for the country, they will be, they will not be recognized. But I don't even understand what you really want to get at the expense of the majority of the people. So to a very large extent, this guy is really, really right that there was no way Sunday Igboho would have gotten, or if Yoruba nation, if they get it, then it will now be handed to Professor Akinbanji and Igboho. Like, seriously? So guys, leave your comment down there below and let us have your take.